The Swedish Institute, also called the Turnblad Mansion, was built in 1908 by Swan and Christina Turnblad. The Turnblads immigrated from Sweden to Minnesota in the late 1800s.
He jumped up to being in the newspaper business in the Twin Cities. And he didn't start, the Svenska Amerikanska Posten, which is the Swedish American Post, was already running then, but it only had about 1,200 people that were taking the newspaper. And it was for the temperance movement, so it was against drinking completely. That's all they were there to talk about in the newspaper. He expanded that to include world news and local news and Swedish news and stories and all different kinds of things, and up to 20 pages, and that's where he made the money to build this beautiful mansion.
They lived there until Christina's death in 1929. They then donated the mansion to the current American Institute for Swedish Arts, Literature, and Science, also known as the American Swedish Institute.
Many immigrants came from Sweden because of the Swedish famine in 1866, also known as the Great Hunger Years. The Great Migration from Sweden into the 1880s was also prompted by economic growth in the U.S. and employment opportunities due to the Second Industrial Revolution.
The mansion was designed by the two architects Christopher Boehme and Victor Cordella. It was one of the 40 mansions on the stretch of Park Avenue known as Minneapolis's Golden Mile. The family's frequent trips to Europe inspired the styles of individual rooms. Construction of the mansion took about 5 years. The Turnblads were very private and never released their blueprints, but when you visit the mansion, you can tell where some of their rooms are inspired from. Here's the current layout of the building.
I think there's 3 fireplaces on this floor, one in the dining room, one here, and one in the music room. But the most wonderful ones that we have, they're called kakelugns, which means tile ovens. And they are the beautiful masterpieces in all of these rooms that the whole room is then designed around. So like the one here in the den, this was ordered out of a catalog.
Oh, really?
It's an absolutely wonderful way to heat. You open the tiny little doors down here, put in a little bit of coal or wood. The whole thing heats up because there's pipes along all of the back behind all these tiles, and it just emanates the warmth into the room. So these are still in use throughout Scandinavia and in Europe to a certain extent. They're not all this ornate, of course. I mean, there's like some little round white ones that are like this big and this tall, but it's still the same idea. This is a very French looking room. I mean, it looks a little bit Scandinavian because it's the lighter colors, but it's very, very French. It's so ornate. When Swedes do this kind of work, it's just not quite as ornate. And all of this was painted over at one point. A lot of these homes, you know, they would go through different uses and they would paint over everything just so that they didn't have to keep it up. But this has been restored to all the original colors. So where this one is French, this one is Moroccan. So this light fixture here, the red one, was purchased by Swan Turnblad 3 years before he even built this house, when he was in Turkey. And he kept it, and they created this room for that light fixture. His daughter, on the other hand, didn't like it, so gave it to the neighbors at one point. Swan had his bedroom right up above here. That was the blue, kind of a lilac and yellow. And then they had a dressing room above this room, and that was for both of them with 2 small closets because they didn't keep a lot of clothes. He had a small bathroom over there. Her bedroom was at the back of the house. Next to that was a little nursery, but their daughter was 22, 23 by the time they moved in here. So she had a bedroom up on the 3rd floor.
Today, nobody lives in the mansion because it is now a museum. There is a current exhibit showing at the mansion containing various life-size children and animal statues inspired by the forests of Finland created by Kim Simonson. In 2012, the Carl and Leslie Nelson Cultural Center was opened, which connected to the museum. The center has a cafe, museum shop, gallery, studio, and workshop spaces, and event spaces.
Although the Turnblad mansion used to house the Swedish newspaper publisher and his family, it is now used as a cultural hotspot as the Swedish Institute.